Welcome to this edition of Fastlane, a JCTV podcast. On today's show, Alonso Chocano joins to talk about the upcoming fourth season of the Blazer Sim Racing in the Pits News Truck Series, which begins this Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern on JCTV. Plus, a first look at Dawson's domain for Daytona ahead of the Fastlane 250 this Saturday night. We also look at highlights from Friday's DI9 Designs NAOR Series Season 13 opener in Las Vegas, and the heat races in last month's JCTV Dirt Invitational. Adam Coon also spoke with the three fast lane drivers in NAOR post race for the immediate reactions of Hunter Pietzsch, Donny Kight, and Zachary Meredith. Brett Bennett is featured on the Juicy Spider Gaming Sim Rig Showcase, and we recap the most recent 5 weeks in JCTV Picks, right here on Fastlane.
Alonso Chocano now joins us in the fast lane. Alonso, what is your expectations going into the season opening race at Daytona this week for the In the Pits News Truck Series? Been a long time off for a lot of these guys, including yourself.
Yeah, we've been out for a while, but we're back now and ready to compete. I'm gonna do what I always try to do and lead. Gonna try to be up front at Daytona. I still think even though we haven't really had the best of luck the past two seasons at these play tracks, we've let a lot of laps, and I still think that the best place to be is in the lead when it comes to avoiding wrecks. So. That's where I'm going to try to be, is up front and contend for the win. Hopefully, we always need a little bit of luck on your side at these kind of races. So I'm going to try to put myself in the best position to try to be there in the end.
Well, it's going to be a long race. A couple new guys added to this league. Like always, first race of the season. What is the biggest thing you're going to be thinking about during the race, other than trying to lead laps? Is it the guys around you? Is it trying to work up a plan with your teams and form a strategy, or is it just getting as much points as possible?
Well, obviously, it's a little bit of a mixture of all of the above. Points is always important, but yeah, I mean, you're right. There's new guys, and every season that we come back, this league gets stronger and stronger, and it's only going to be more difficult to be competitive in this league. The more, the more seasons we go on, and coming back now, we have more guys, and guys are going to come back faster and more experienced. So you gotta try to gauge, who's really aggressive and who's kind of chilling in the pack and seeing who's working together. We also have new teammates as well. I feel like Josh Coppernoll's team is going to be really, really strong this season. Of course, Michael Kruger was a big competitor last season, but now he has some other teammates that are going to be right there with him competing. I feel like so that's a team that's I feel like is going to be one to look out for, besides obviously Radius Racing.
Well, looking past this Saturday at Daytona, next Saturday we're going to be at Homestead, Miami. If I remember correctly, you didn't race that when it was in the playoffs at the very end of last season. So what is going to be your biggest takeaway going into that race with limited practice you're going to probably do and experience that you have there in the past? What are you going to have to put forward for that race, just being the second race of the season?
Yeah, that's going to be the real test. I feel like on who is really going to be like contenders all season long. We did a race that was it was a recruitment race at Homestead, and Ethan was really, really fast. I mean, he won the race and I finished second, but it was one of those deals where really no one had anything for him. So I feel like he's going to be really fast there. Justin has gotten to be really, really good at these 1.5 2 mile tracks, and he's gotten to be really good at saving. So I feel like those guys are going to be really tough to compete with. It's going to be a test to see where you stand compared to everybody else as in how well you save your tires, how well you pace yourself to have that long run and really see where you can gain that track position to put yourself in a good position for those long runs.
Looking a little bit later down in the season, towards the fall, when we get towards the playoffs and the chase, the regular season finale is going to be at Talladega. We are going back to the Talladega doubleheader, shorter races this time around. What are your expectations trying this again, and this time ending the regular season off with it?
Personally, I love it. I mean, it's hopefully by that time you're pretty well set. You want to go into it in a position where you know where you stand. Uh, my goal is obviously to be locked into the playoffs well before that. So for me, I just want to go into those races and just have fun, try to again lead laps and go for the win, but not put yourself into a position where it's Talladega, so you never know what's gonna happen. They're probably gonna be chaotic, just like they always are. So as long as you go into it knowing where you stand, it should be a lot of fun. I really look forward to the doubleheader.
And speaking of the playoffs and the chase format is a little bit different for season 4, doing the elimination style like the 2016 format in real life. So what is your expectations with that, and what was the big determining factor of switching this format up from what we've done the last couple seasons?
Well, we're a league that we try to do not everything, but a lot of things that can translate to real life truck racing, and obviously, that's what they're doing nowadays is the elimination style, and we've tried to do the chase style, which is personally my favorite. I've always been a huge fan of the chase style. Postseason or not postseason, but playoffs type championship. But the problem with that is that as you get later on in the playoffs, you start to see who's going to really compete for the championship, and unfortunately the way leagues are is that if you don't really stand a chance, then you don't really have that motivation to make that next race. So uh, how the elimination playoffs. The good thing about that is that it sets yourself up to, even if you're an underdog, if you win a race, you're on to the next stage, and you never know what can happen from there. So I feel like we're gonna see some people that maybe you might not expect make it farther, and maybe some people that you would expect to make it farther maybe fall out a little bit early. So it should be interesting. I look forward to it, even though I am going to miss the chase style. I feel like it's going to be good for the league on the long run.
And so ending the season off this time is going to be at Auto Club Speedway after 2 years at Kansas, or 2 seasons at Kansas. How do you think that race is going to be? We've gone to California before and some races at Fontana. They've worked really well in the past, I've thought. What do you think that race is going to play out when we get there on October 28th?
Yeah, I mean, I love Auto Club. I love the racing there in sim. I love the racing there in real life. I think it's an awesome track. It's one of my favorites, and it provides great racing. It's you have that multi groove type racing, which is always great no matter where you are, and it provides a show for people to watch. It's something that you don't want to miss every time we go there, and uh, I have my memories of racing at Auto Club in the pits news is racing against Cam a few times and wrecking him on accident by bump drafting down the back straightaway, and I've gotten wrecked there, and I've raced good. I've raced well, I should say. I feel like at Kansas, but I've always just fallen a bit short or just gotten caught up in something. So it's a track I really like. and a track I feel like I can be competitive at. So I look forward to getting a new shot at it. And, what better than making it the season finale and ending, season 4 here in the Pits News trucks.
Well, I've already touched on a few of the new additions to the schedule, or changes for Season 4, but we have some new races and shakeups as well in the regular season. What are some of them that you're looking forward to? I know there was a big push to get certain tracks on the schedule, and what are some new ones that we're looking forward to this upcoming year on JCTV?
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of great changes to the schedule. I mean, it's something that me and Cam really thought a lot about and took us a few weeks of going back and forth. And, at the end of the day, it's impossible to make everybody happy because everybody has different tracks that they like and that they don't like, etc. So I feel like this is as close as you can get to at least having as many people as possible to agree on a solid schedule. Me and Cam worked on this, and then we got the input from a lot of the people in the league, and we got some really exciting stuff coming up. We have the Roval is back, of course, but I really look forward to having it be a later race, as in like in sim time is gonna be later. It's not a track that I'm necessarily great at, but I feel like it being cooler and at night or at sundown is gonna be good for me, just so I don't, less chance of me spinning out, even though I probably still will. And we have USA. We're going to be racing at USA, which is awesome. I've always loved that track. I really look forward to that a ton. It's an awesome short track. And also, we're going to be going to Rockingham. And I feel like that's going to be a really good race. It's Rockingham's this like weird, funky little track that's kind of a short track, but kind of not. So I think it's going to be it's going to be good to make our way over there for the first time in the Pits News truck history and seeing how that goes, And that's the great thing about this league is that, we can test out different things and sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. But, last season we had some tracks that didn't really race that well. So we kicked those to the curb and we're replacing them with some tracks that we haven't done before and trying some new things out, seeing how it goes.
Well, before we let you go here on Fastlane, any sponsors you want to shout out here tonight?
Yeah, for sure. Well, first of all, I want to thank JCTV for letting us do Fastlane. I want to thank In the Pits News for being one of our biggest sponsors, sponsoring the league and sponsoring me and Willias Racing. Grid Network, always one of our biggest supporters. Habanero's Mexican Grill, and my newest sponsor, Not Famous Racing Apparel. Make sure to check out Not Famous Racing. Check out their website, and you can use code Chocano for a discount at checkout.
All right, awesome. Thanks, Alonso, for taking your time out tonight and joining Fastlane.
Thank you, Adam. It's been a pleasure.
Daytona International Speedway, where tonight the stars of the In the Pits News Truck Series and Tyler Watermullen will do battle. I'm going to show you what to and not to do in this race in here with Oscar Enriquez, and you'll see here the first thing we're going to do, we're going to show you how to bump draft, but you don't want to make too much contact or you'll wipe yourself out.
Oh, Andrew Willias just moved up a little bit.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they would never understand.
The biggest key to Daytona is finding yourself a partner that's going to work with you throughout the race. You can see here here where me and Oscar link up and kind of just work together in the draft. It's something you're going to see a lot of these guys doing here tonight, and we've seen it work successfully like we saw last season with David and Justin Duran, as they were able to work their way to the front and go for the win, pushing each other to first and second.
Dalton Kelly once again with help from Jeremy Richmond. They're going to make contact on the back. It is now 4 trucks left trying to make it happen. David Durand ahead. David might have it. It will be David Durand winning at Daytona.
Last thing you want to do is push, not square on the bumper, Oscar. Careful with the pushes and you'll be able to make it. Just don't push in the corner. And that's a good example of what not to do at Daytona.
It's like when you get more front, it looks like the moment Chocano is going to be taken by himself, and it actually does. Wes is always going to be paid the place when he spins in front of the field. And wow.
Oh, around goes Parker. Siciliano, Chocano, Caldwell involved as well.
Parker saved it, but to get Andrew to lead that lap.
Oh, Andrew Willias around. Dawson Allen around. Brett Bennett around. They're going to get into Nick Warnick. Michael Kruger.
Another key is going to be making your pit stops. You're going to want to get together with your partner or get together with your group and get down. You don't want to speed, and you want to make sure you get onto that pit road as safe as can be and ready to go with your teammates. Just as smooth as you entered, you want to exit together as a group and be ready to get this back going and get back out there and get back up to speed as quickly as possible. And when it comes down to it at the end, you want to make sure you're in the right spot to put your truck in victory lane and become the 4th different winner here at Daytona. All that matters is keeping that truck behind you. He's going to make a move. You got to make sure if he gets that run, he's going to get the pass. You don't want to let him go. And there we go. And that is the reason why I have yet to win in this series. This has been your first ever episode of Dawson's Domain here at Daytona. A lot of work. And hit at the end. A lot of work to do.
Now it's time for the Juicy Spider Gaming SimRig Showcase, and joining us today is Brett Bennett. Brett, start off with the basics. What kind of computer are you racing on when we see you race on JCTVs every week?
So I've recently upgraded with thanks to Brian Haynes of Mart on PC for building me a computer it's one of his custom builds. I'm crappy with computer stuff, but it's got a NVIDIA GeForce RTX. I believe it's let me pull it up before I say wrong and give his product wrong. But overall, it's a great product. I've had very little issues. The only issue I had was user error on my part, because apparently one of the cords, just from being shipped, got jostled a little while it shipped, and it would come just slightly loose, so it would cause some issues for a little bit. But once I got that taken care of, I've had literally no issues at all with the computer, which compared to my previous computer, which would crash every 2 races I would do, is a major improvement. So not having to worry about whether my computer will work each race, I think performance-wise has really improved me just in general. I think into last season in ITPN, once I had that new computer, the results really started to show, and I think we'll end up in victory lane this year thanks to that. So, yep. So, also, if you want the specs on it are, it's a 32 gigabyte DDR5 5200 Ryzen 5 76000X processor, RTX 3070 Ti GPU, I believe. as far as I know about computers, is I press the power button and it turns on. It's definitely fan cooled, based on the 6 fans running right now. I don't know if there's liquid cooling. I don't think there is, but there might be because I'm very unaware of stuff like that. All I know is as far as cooling goes, I've had no issues with temperatures, which was another thing I had major issues with on my previous laptops that I would use for iRacing. So.
All right, so looking at picture here that the viewers will be able to see as well, I see 3 pedal setup. Looks like a Thrustmaster wheel, if I'm correct. So what kind of wheel and pedal set do you actually use that helps get you around the track?
So I actually use a Logitech wheel, but a Thrustmaster pedals. When I just started sim racing, it was during the pandemic. I bought a Logitech Momo wheel on eBay that was used for like $50 because I wanted to see how cheaply I could do it. Got it, and the force feedback didn't work. So later that week, I bought a G29 that I probably paid way too much for because that was at the height of the pandemic and everything being expensive is super expensive to try to get into sim racing. But and I've been very happy with that ever since. That's been my wheel since I started sim racing. I've had no issues with it. As far as pedals, I initially used the G29's default pedals that came with it, but then I decided to update to a Thrustmaster TCLM pedals, so I could get with load cell brake, which has tremendously helped my road racing. I'm still bad at road racing, but that's all between the wheel and the pedals, not on the pedals or the wheel. It's just I'm not that good at it. But performance-wise, especially even short tracks, that's been really helpful having a load cell pedal compared to a potentiometer one, because it's a lot easier to get your braking right when you can base your braking like a real car instead of based on how far you can move a pedal, which isn't obviously how it works in real life. So that's been an upgrade I'm very happy with. I think if I upgrade anything in the future, I'll probably eventually upgrade to a direct drive wheel, but I got other things I'm spending money on right now.
Yeah, I actually have these same set of pedals, and I have to say that I love them a lot, and having that. Mm-hmm. Yep. Having that load cell brake has tremendously helped me in my iRacing adventures. Um, so yeah, I mean they're a great set of pedals. Another thing I want to bring up is I know personally that you used to use VR when you race, and then upgrading to this computer, you got a widescreen. So no longer using the VR. What's been kind of um,
The difference, yeah.
yeah, the difference in getting used to going from VR to a widescreen?
I'd say I actually, in a lot of ways, preferred VR. The problem I had with VR is my previous computer, the performance was not there to successfully do VR. Eventually, I want to get VR set up on this computer, but I got the widescreen monitor and I've had a lot of success with it. I really like the perspective you get with the widescreen in terms of being able to really tell where your car's at. Almost in some ways, it's better than VR, and your ability to tell, especially what's to the left and right of you. VR was nice, especially like for restarts. You could really just like being able to look over at the car next to you, especially like if you're restarting outside front row. That was really helpful. But overall, I've been very happy with the ultra wide. It's a difference, but I think in terms of performance, an ultra wide compared to VR are very similar in what you're getting and what it provides. It's just whether you can get VR just requires a lot more performance from the computer and you have to sacrifice other graphic performance a lot of times for that. I don't know if I'd have that issue on this computer. As I said, I haven't tried it. I probably wouldn't sacrifice that much because I'm not running nearly full. This computer has a lot more power to possibly run that, but that's something I've been very happy with. I was going to add on the pedals. The only issue with the pedals, which I don't know if you've ever had, Josh, but is the load cell is sticky if you are not careful. You have to recalibrate it occasionally. And if I'm bad about recalibrating it, I've before had it where, I don't know if you remember that ITPN race, the last ITPN race at Martinsville, but about halfway through that race, there was a restart where I restarted like third and everybody passed me, and y'all thought my car was like broken or something. That's because my brake pedal stuck on, and I didn't realize it for a lap and a half that my brake pedal was sticking on the straight. So everybody was just driving by me because I was like at 10% brake on the straights. And the rest of that race, I had to pull out the brake pedal with my toes every single corner. So that was fun. But yeah, other than that, I'm super happy with those. And the monitor's been a great purchase. I think the widescreen really gives you a great perspective in terms of being able to tell where you're at and being able to get a good feel for what the car is doing.
I think last thing I want to talk about, I feel like is one of the most important aspects of sim racing is, the chair. What kind of chair do you have? Is it, one that rolls? Is it in place? And how comfy are you when you're sim racing?
So when I first started sim racing, I lived in a college dorm at the time, so I was using a basic plastic back, plastic bottom chair, and after like 3 races, I decided that was a mistake because I'd get from every race and my ass would be killing me and my body would just hurt because there was no support. So then I went and bought a GT Racing gaming chair off of Amazon for I forget how much it was. It was the cheapest gaming chair that was also seemed to perform, that had good reviews and good performance. Because I didn't want to spend like $500 on a chair, but I got it for I think somewhere between 100 and 200. I'm not sure where at. And was able to get that, build it. I've taken it with me now. It's been with me from Waco to Memphis, back to Waco, and now to Nebraska. So it's been a really good chair. It's on wheels, which is the only annoying thing. I have a rug right behind me that at least kind of holds it in place. But I have had 1 or 2 times where I've accidentally, if I get too animated on the pedals, I'll end up sliding backwards, and then I'll have to try to readjust in the middle of a race, which is never fun. But yeah. But overall, very happy with that too. Because if you don't have a good chair, you're just going to be dying every race, and it's just not fun.
All right, thank you, Brett, for joining this week's edition of the Juicy Spider Gaming Sim Rig Showcase. And now back to Fastlane.
Close back up to the bumper, Jonathan Parker now. Oh, is Moreno having a little bit of blinking there? Hopefully that clears up as we come across the line this time. 13 to go from Vegas. It's anybody's race if you're in the top 6. Heck, even the top 10, I could say at this point. The way the top 5 are nose to tail, it's anybody's race. See Moreno still having blinking issues.
Yeah, you mentioned these top 5. They are only half a second ahead of that battle for that P6 fight that is now between Hapiak and Willias as Donny Kight has fallen to the 9th position in this battle for the lead side by side. Parker on the inside. We know that's not where he wants to be, but he made that slide job look earlier. Diving again in turn 1, but Moreno is going to have the power back through the exit of 2.
I know pulls off. We are getting ready to go green here.
Green flag, green flag.
Moreno takes off, and the rest of the field is going behind him. 7 laps to go. 6 laps, actually, from Vegas. And no shock here at the top 2, single filing out, but side by side still with Pietzsch and Wright. And Parker's going to look to the inside of Moreno there on the exit of 2. He has the run. I think we're going to be 3 wide into 3. 3 wide for the lead. Hunter Pietzsch is going for it.
Moreno got tight in 1 and 2, and that's what allowed this to happen.
Pietzsch
had
to
the
the
door
lead.
open.
They're wrecking behind Nick Hapiak. Wygent, Jose Ruiz, Andrew Chapman, Chase McGuire.
Andrew Green piles in, and a lot more cars still wrecking into Wow, huge wreck. Chris Wright got on his side there.
You see what happened there? Hapiak
excuse
washed
me,
up into
Lehman.
Wygen a little bit, and Lehman goes over.
Yeah,
Jones is in it.
Nathan
Chapman,
Lehman.
McGuire. We see the 25. That's Andrew Green sliding in there. The 69 involved in another one. A lot of drivers in that wreck there.
Yeah, Jonathan, you were right. You called it. We were not done wrecking. Somehow, Pacey Wygen drove away from that. He looks relatively unclean, and he was the first one to spin, really.
As we jump back live here, Pacey Wygen does actually look clean. Not sure the damage on that 00. Looks like mostly just to his right rear.
Yeah, right rear is definitely chewed up, but other than that, somehow it looks fine.
And back up front, as we mentioned, it looks like I'm having a couple issues with the loading. Go back to TV2 for that. Sorry about that, folks. Not sure what's going on there, but back up front, Hunter Pietzsch, that 3-wide move paid off for him at the right time, because now he's the first one to choose which lane he gets, and he assumes the lead.
Yeah, I was mentioning, he all started with Ethan Moreno getting tight in the center 1 and 2. He pushed up to clear Jonathan Parker so they could take over the 1-2 positions, but races do not get extended in NAOR. Checkered flag falls when the checkered flag is meant to be fallen, and we're only going to get one shot here, one lap to do it, so this is it. We're going to get one lap, we're going to get the green flag and go, and whatever happens off turn 4 is what happens.
Well, we'll see how they stack them up, and I got to bring up the point. Josh Arnold, back from 23rd, is in the top 10 right now. See what any of these drivers are willing to do to get a win or get a good finish here in this season opener for NAOR. We go one lap shootout, pace car down pit road, field in the hands of Hunter Pietzsch. He takes off, we are green. One more lap to go here at Vegas. Who gets back here first? Pietzsch is going to lead them out of 1 and 2. We'll see if Jonathan Parker has anything for Pietzsch. He does have a run. Looks like it's coming to the outside. Pietzsch trying to block. He's not able to. Parker getting a shot from Chris Wright. Chris Wright going to dip to the inside. Pietzsch just ever so slightly ahead. Who gets to the line first? It's a drag race. Jonathan Parker's going to finish in first. I think Chris Wright's going to get credited with second as Hunter Pietzsch finishes third sideways.
Sideways in the grass. He never quit driving at his. He never really wrecked. He just drifted down the entire front straightaway. Comes to rest right at the pit exit. But what a finish there. Jonathan Parker using that middle line we talked about all night. He used it to his advantage, and he used it right there to the checkered flag. Over Hunter Pietzsch and Chris Wright. Remarkable job up to second. What a finish there, Jonathan.
Absolutely. What a finish. And just going down your finishing order here tonight. We'll start with your top 10. Your first place finisher is going to be that 92 of Jonathan Parker.
Fastlane, a JCTV podcast, is sponsored by FACES, the National Craniofacial Association. Live here from USA International Speedway. This is dirt racing. JCTV Invitational, presented by Fastlane. I am Josh Coppernoll. I'm joined by Adam Coon. Adam, I know we're both looking forward to this race, but before we get into more discussion of this race, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. Excited. Like you mentioned, for this race, it should be a phenomenal race, but I'm doing well. Josh, this is something we've been planning pretty much all year, and the idea of it has changed and shifted just a little bit, but it's finally here, and it's race night for the JCTV Invitational, and a little fun here in the off season for NAOR and ITPN while we get ready for those leagues to start up next month.
Yeah, so you mentioned, NAOR and ITPN. This race, basically what it is it's an invitational of drivers from all three of our series. the MFRD Sled Job Racing League as well, which they're still going in their season. Where the DI9 Designs NAOR series and BSR ITPN Truck series are on off weeks or off their off season, as you mentioned. So Hapiak definitely one to watch. The pace truck is in. We're about ready to go green, and the green flag is waving. Heat number 1 here at USA International. See the different lines drivers are taking.
Yeah, PCYgen was able to clear for the lead easily in turn 1. Hapiak fell to 3rd though. Canfield was able to get around it for that 2nd position.
Oh man, Nick Hapiak looking to the outside of Canfield. Wants that position back. Meanwhile, Roy Crump, P4. He's trying to make sliders happen.
Yeah, he's up a position already past Noah Mayuri, so he's trying to catch that lead trio right there. And Pacey Wygent has gapped Canfield and Hapiak by considerable amount into turn 1 this time by.
That he has. Look at Nick Hapiak trying to put his nose underneath Canfield. Canfield loose. They might make contact there going down the back straightaway.
Slight bit of contact, nothing to be unheard of in street stocks and on dirt. And we saw that just happen back in the background. Noah Mary got into Roy Crump. These two, battling hard for the 2nd spot, but that is allowing the 0-0 of Pacey White to just run away as Canfield gets up into the wall through turns 1 and 2, and that puts him in a 3-wide spot heading down the back.
Yeah, Roy Crump took big advantage of that, trying to put Noah Mayuri in the middle. Noah's going to back out of that going to turn 3. While Crump commits to the bottom, trying to get past Canfield for 3rd.
Another thing to realize with this too, this is only 6 cars. In the main event, we're gonna have 20 drivers duking it out. So it's going to be a lot of fun just watching them battle here. Just 3 cars, in a tight group. But now when we get to the main event, when it gets to 20, it is going to be a battle.
Pacey Wygent has just continued to drive away, guys. The white flag is flying, and he's almost on the straightaway by himself. He's going to go into turn 1 with over a 3-second lead now.
Yeah, he is comfortable. And going into turn 3. Checkered flag is waving. It is going to be Pacey Wygent taking home heat number 1, Chocano and Brett Bennett. Of course, Brett Bennett currently P2 in this heat.
Right now, battle on track is actually between Tyler Watermelon, Alonso Chocano, and Nathan Lehman, and then battle for P2 is Brett Bennett, Jeffrey Armistead.
Yeah, those are the battles on track. Everyone else, Caden Atkins is driven away, and Anthony Mosho having trouble getting the handling of that car, but Caden Atkins is going to come here and get the white flag.
Yeah, I won't lie to you guys. I convinced Anthony Marshall to do this last minute, so he's just out here trying to do his best.
Caden Atkins through turns 3 and 4 for the final time. Gonna slide it off turn 4. And Caden Atkins will be your winner of heat number 2. Brett Bennett taking a 2nd rather.
Oh, but right there, the 420 car just missed the bottom again. That's gonna be costly as now the 174 pulls right back up to that back bumper.
I'll tell you what, I'm surprised Smith didn't get into the wall. He is really pushing it.
But now, yet again, he's opened that door for this 174. Oh, you see how sideways he is. The bottom is slick right now, but it's still the line to go to. He's going to brush up in front of Brian Smith.
Those 2 drivers are wheeling it. White flag is out. Smith, he goes all the way to the bottom.
Brian Smith looking for the slider line on exit. Gonna leave the 174 room. Coming to the line. We'll see who takes second. Right now, first is gonna be locked up by Braden Holt. Who's gonna get here for second? Brian Smith pushes the 174 wide, and that's gonna be what gets him to second.
Holt takes the win. Smith P2. Justin Burnham P3. Jonathan Parker P4. Dawson Allen falling back to 5th.
Now it's time to hear from the Fastlane drivers from the Season 13 NAOR Series season opener at Las Vegas Motor Speedway.
What do you want me to do with my hands?
Yeah. Yes.
I need some water. Hold on a minute. Hold on.
Alright.
I need some water. I've already drank 2 bottles of water. I'll be hydrated.
Joining us now on Fastlane is the 3rd, 4th, and 5th place finishers at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Race just got done a little less than an hour ago, guys. I'll start off with Hunter. Hunter Pietzsch in the 20 car. You were in the lead in the last couple of laps on the last, really the white flag shootout. Come home 3rd. What was the last lap like from your seat and drifting across the line pretty much?
Fun. Very, very fun. I have a lot of history with Jonathan Parker in other leagues. He's a great driver. He's improved. Me and him battled at Vegas in the past, but I don't know why the car shot to the inside when I hit him. I wish it didn't do that, but overall it was chaotic. I didn't want a one-lap shootout in a 550 package. We all know how that goes. Not very fun to do. A lot of blocking. But tried my best. Came up a little bit short, but had a blast doing it.
And Zachary, you were right there in the mix most of the night as well, rebounding to 4th after those restarts. What was it like yourself being in the middle of the chaos there in those last 2 restarts we had at the last 10 laps?
Yeah, I mean, I got stuck a lap down, so I mean, I went from running 3rd the entire race to going to 25th, a lap down, getting a wave around, driving from 25th to 14th, and then from 14th to like 5th or 6th on that second to last caution. And man, I don't know how I dodged that one wreck. I literally turned my wheel straight to the left and drifted down the front stretch. And then that last 1 lap shootout, I was just hoping that the front 3 would just, I don't know, somehow either get together or spin their tires and whatnot. But I mean, running 3rd the entire race and coming home 4th, I can't complain, especially when I led like a few laps, so that helps me a little bit in the standings.
Yeah, and the 5th place finisher, Donny Kight, you were rebounding to a top 5 finish. What was that like? Because every time Jonathan and I looked on the broadcast, we would see you struggling with the handling of that car and making your way up slowly, but you were able to be up there in the mix at the end.
Yeah, I was maybe going a little heavy on trying to save tire. I haven't figured out the balance of when to push it, when not to push it yet. And I don't know, I guess the caution fell just right. The first caution, or it may have been the second caution, whatever it was. I was like 12th. And I would have, after the pit stops, I would have mired back in like 22nd or something. But since I was able to pit from 12th, I came out 12th. And I was just like, fuck it, I'm gonna full bore it from here. And yeah, I just missed a couple of wrecks and had one hell of a last restart. Put it all almost in the grass to, I think I took him 4 wide for a second, but yeah, managed to crawl it back up to 5th. I was hoping I could beat Zach off the final corner, but he had that run on the outside.
So before we started recording, a couple of you guys were talking about passing tonight, and I've heard a couple of different drivers other than you guys already bring this up. So I'll start with Zach, since you mentioned driving through the field a couple times there in those last couple of restarts yourself. How was passing for that 17 machine? Did you have a preferred line getting around guys?
Me personally, I tried to essentially diamond the corners, starting in the middle and then diamonding it straight down to the bottom on both sides of the track. But in the first run, it was so hard to pass because there was no grip on the track anywhere. So you were essentially just following the leader. But once we could put some rubber down and track got rubbered up, it was pretty. You could pick your lane on what you wanted to do, but I preferred the middle and the bottom, picking my spots.
See, Zach, I'm kind of like you. It's kind of like opposite. Like, I was the same with you, Diamond. I'm assuming you run like the first seam. I assume on entry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I ran about like right there, drove it down, and kind of like I say about like 34, 37 laps to a run. You could kind of see when people kind of fell off, but like I noticed the passes had to be made on the outside. They were not going to be on the bottom. But I didn't race around y'all much. I just noticed when I got the Parker in them and Ethan, they really loved to pinch down. So I really couldn't just do a slide job or anything to really get a run. I could get there and it was just a bubble. And I tried the outside and get a run, but just can't get to the corner of the side job to pull them back. And it was just kind of just Corian effect. It's just how to get to them, but it's just there's no way to get to them.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't help with the 550 package. You just don't have the horsepower to muscle your way around them. So you really have to build up a run too, which didn't help. But
yeah, I was kind of the same as you were.
Shit, I don't know about you guys, but when you're way in the back like that and you got all these new names out there, I'm just looking for any familiar name possible. And the first one I come across,
I was back there at my first pit stop. That was not fun. I got stuck back there with Jose, and I think it was Mike Campbell, and then man, Mike Campbell was slow on the bottom, and then next thing you know, was like Jose was getting frustrated. He was going 3 and all that. And I got to run. I was like, I'm going 3. I'm like, screw it. I'm like, we're just gonna go because I had to make up time. And I was like, I could tell how different it was back there compared to like being up there with you and you, Donny, and Zach. Like it was just like the pace feels so off. Like I shouldn't be back here. It was not fun.
it was miserable back there. I didn't know anybody.
yeah, like I started fifth, and when I was running top 3 the whole race up until that first caution, I lap like 99 or 100, and then after that, oh my lord, it was seeing all these other people and not knowing where they're gonna go and how they're gonna race. Man, it was so sketchy.
No, speaking of that first yellow, so I was racing up there, and then I started getting around Jose, and I started kind of like gaining on you, Zach, and like starting to get back at the third. I was just trying to get it within a 10 seconds, maybe short pit it, do some off strategy to catch back up to Jonathan. And I pitted the same time he did. I just overcooked it and then hit the wall. But no, like as soon as I was going to 3, I saw a car get loose. Someone just gets sent up in the wall. I don't know who it was. And then they come back down the track, and someone below me just ARCA brakes and just goes dead straight into them. And I'm like, well, that should be a yellow. And it was like, no yellow. And they were coming back on the track. I'm like, oh, there it is. It was wild.
Well, you guys mentioned it being wild out there. This isn't going to be the only time I'm going to be heading to Las Vegas this season. It's going to end up the championship race when we come back in September. Going to be way different track conditions. How's that going to suit these Gen 6 cars when we return?
Shit, if it's a different time of day.
I'm going to assume it's be the same. It's just, it might be a little bit more grip. I don't know if he's going to have a complete night or it's going to go from a day to a night.
It just depends the time of day and the temperature. Because if it's at night, we're gonna have a lot more grip, and our tires aren't gonna wear as bad. Because our tires were below the 20s on almost every pit stop. So in the night, that's not gonna happen. But in the day race, if it starts as a day race and transitions to night, that's gonna be a learning curve. But if it's just a straight night race, as long as our practice is in the night, we'll have something leading up to it when that time comes. But
I would certainly be hoping for a day to night, kind of give us a mix of both. Give us a hot slick in the beginning, and then
it would be an adjustment. I'll tell you that. It was even I had to adjust my car hard. I had to adjust everything after that first run because my tire was like 12%.
I've done a few testing off of just random tracks that we go to. And like I noticed that Kentucky and Kansas, for example, like I threw it into a session like 7 o'clock and it's had like times 4 and let it go into the night. Trying to get a base of like, okay, what's a generic day to a night? You know, get that mid sun. And I noticed that Kansas, you can't hold it wide open, and it would just lose the rear end. But when it hit nighttime, I could hold it wide open. It was just a whole different. It was like that today. Like I noticed, like at Vegas, like on that 10 lap to go restart, it would not stick on the bottom, holding wide open. But in the beginning of run, it kind of like it kind of did. It was just treacherous. You just want to be on the outside.
That's
I
what
don't
I
do the
did.
same way, Donny.
I'm pretty sure the next time we go back, not only because it's going to be the championship race, but because if you look at like the end of that race, everybody finally had an idea of what they needed to do with their car, and the aggression level, it just went way up. And then I think everybody's going to be like that. If we have the same class of drivers going into the final race, everybody's going to be
Well,
energy is going to be high.
hopefully we just don't have a one lap shootout again, because that was
Yeah.
interesting. When I seen that come out, I was like, this is gonna be a one lap shootout. It's really gonna be a one lap shootout.
I didn't
thought
expect
about-
it.
I thought about going outside, but I was like, I think inside's the way to go. And it was
Well,
like,
the
I didn't know how
inside's the
do
way to
replay.
go to start it, but once you get to the backstretch, because you usually clear the second person going into the turn 1, or at least
That's
in
hard to
turn
judge
2.
when they're getting a push from behind. Like you just can't block
They
that
they
run.
didn't. Well, yeah.
I mean, it's like that at Michigan or Chad. When they get so big of a run, you just can't block in these cars. It's just you're kind of just done. I just got too far out, and it's like I don't know what to do. But no, I could definitely tell after that second yellow with 33 laps to go, the aggression was definitely gonna pick up. I mean, people were just not gonna lift, and
I mean, I drove literally the wheels off my car just to get to 14th, trying to make up ground, dude. I was slicing and dicing, dude. I could show you clips of me just slicing and dicing through my way through the field. I almost went like 4 wide trying to get like 2 spots just to get closer and closer to the field.
no, I think the chance race will be very interesting because everybody's kind of got a base of like what short pitting does, bases what running longer does. 'Cause I know there's a lot of people ran long, some people short pitted, some ran about a medium. There was a lot of mixed strategies that race went green, but I think Ethan and Jonathan were probably the two class. They were such a big advantage. I mean, there was definitely a lot of strategy. I think people were just doing a lot of trial and error, trying to learn it. And it is a championship race, which, I mean, that's the same with next week. We go to Iowa. I mean, last race for that championship. I mean, it's just more just take these first 2 races, learn them, and kind of see what works, what doesn't. You know, come out with the win, you come out with the win.
I will say I don't understand the 93, or what was it? Ethan's 43, right? That's his number. I don't understand his choice of doing right side tires and not pit stop. I don't.
I don't know. I thought about
If
2
I-
tires might be the way. I knew somebody would. I just don't think it was gonna work. But I mean,
Yeah,
to
because
be
I'm
fair,
like
there
6
is
laps to
no.
go, and
To
you
be
have
fair,
the
there is
entire
no
field on 4
overtime.
versus 2. Yeah,
There's no
exactly.
overtime. So, I mean, you get lucky with the yellow, and you know
Well,
that
even
track.
still, if he didn't wreck in that big wreck, he still would have had to fend off another 1 lap shootout. I don't think he would have held off, because I mean that was only off of 1 lap too. That was 1 lap, and he was already going 4 wide with everybody. So I don't think it would have worked out. But that's just me.
Yeah, that's something I wanted to bring up to really all of you. When this happened, he on that restart you guys mentioned, he was only on 2 and slid up the track in front of Jonathan Parker, someone he's raced with a lot, and they raced very close and very respectfully. But Jonathan said he would have probably wrecked him if it wasn't him because of how tight that block was. And Hunter, that opened the door for you to make it 3 wide there.
That was how I got the lead.
Yeah.
I thought he was on
Yeah.
4. I thought in that restart, I was thinking go bottom with him and just cut Jonathan off. As long as I got in front of Jonathan, that's all that mattered. It was just I got to get a restart, and I thought he was on 4. So I thought when they went into 1, when Jonathan went high, I thought he just blocked him intentionally, just on a 4. I didn't know he was on 2. I thought he was on 4 tires, just throwing a block. And I was like, okay. I mean, but
Yeah,
that would make sense.
I just didn't understand. I was like, you're the leader was like 4 tires is just so much better
I
than
think that was
2.
after the 30-something lap run, right?
Yeah, it's like dude, you have to take 4. Like if it's like a 10 lap run, that's different. But
It
you
kinda
just
was.
ran that many laps. I was like, dude, there's no way. Like even when I went to go pick my lane for the last restart for a month ago, I watched where he went, so I didn't go where he was. When he went to the bottom, I went to the top. Just because
I was just behind him.
I didn't want to be stuck behind a guy with 2 tires. Which actually paid off because I went from like 8th to like 4th anyways, so that was nice.
So, Donny and Zach, what were you thinking when you saw Hunter pop out and make that move down the back straightaway and send it into turn 3, just ahead of you guys?
On the white?
Coming to, believe it was like 5 to go.
Before I remember
restart when he took 2.
Yeah.
When him and when Ethan and Jonathan made contact.
The last thing I remember is avoiding that crash. I mean, I luckily I wasn't behind the wreck. I was below it, but I was glad to have passed it.
Yeah, I drove through it. I somehow dodged it. I mean, you could literally go on board with my car and just see how close I was to everybody. I mean, I literally drove through the middle of it, dodged 2 cars spinning, a car flipping, car kicked to the left, drifted this entire front stretch, and then drove through the grass. That was crazy.
The only move I was really paying attention to was that very last restart, and I saw Chris and Zach had both selected the outside lane, and I thought for sure Zach was going to shove the hell out of the 60, and that Chris was going to come around and take the win. And even though they didn't get through 1 and 2 like I imagined they wanted to, I still thought Chris was going to sail it off into 3 and take the win. That's what I was focused on.
Yeah, I mean, even like watching the choose, like I was like, all right, I was like, where's everybody gonna go? And then I seen the guy, Ethan, take the guy who took 2 tires. I didn't want to be behind him. I was like, okay, he went to the bottom, and then I see everybody went to the bottom. I was like, the only car that didn't go to the bottom was Chris. I was like, okay, I'll go ahead, jump 2 spots. I'll go ahead restart 4th instead of, 5th in line. But I timed it as perfectly as I could when Pietzsch went. It's just these cars in the 550, they just don't get up and go. These things just have no oof. So I mean, I tried pushing Chris, but my car just nope.
I don't know if maybe you didn't get a good start because I did, because like I noticed Jonathan laid back, so I kind of just like I didn't like what he was doing. So I kind of braked a little bit and slowed my pace down from 60 down to 55 to get back to him, and then went. So I kind of probably checked at the inside. I don't know if that's probably prevented you from getting a better restart, that I checked it up. I don't know. I wasn't in your position.
I don't know. I mean, the only thing I was really hoping for was that you guys were gonna either all wreck in front of me and I somehow dodge you guys were gonna spin tires and no one spun them. So I was like, all right, well, I'm just gonna rip the middle.
Close. If Chris would have slid up and hit Jonathan, it would have took us all 3 out.
Yeah, but like going down the back stretch, like watching, I was like, oh my god. I was like, all right, they're another 2 wide. Me and Donny are 2 wide. I was like, all right, I gotta pinch Donny so he doesn't have a run off the corner. And then I had my run off, but it's just you guys didn't like hit each other or anything. You guys kept it clean, and then the slight contact sent you to the apron. But so yeah, it was quite the eventful race. All in all,
yeah, pretty clean too.
I was really impressed going into that. I went in that race and people were saying over or under. How many cautions did we get? I said probably 11. I didn't know how many people. Next, no, we go in there. We're going 102 laps. I'm like, we might not even get a yellow.
I thought it was going to be a survival race before we went green, but the 100 laps, nothing.
It went green, and I was like, this is wild.
Yeah, I had on my notes here. I wanted to mention that to you guys. The first 100 laps went caution-free, so what was that like, that full green flag run with a bunch of different strategies going on throughout that first pit cycle and a little bit past it, too?
Honestly, I was looking at lap times, and I was like, okay, I could gain essentially 2 lap or a second and a half to 2 seconds per lap if I cut them off, and I was like, all right, instead of going, 58 laps of gas, which was the fuel tank, I was like, all right, I'll do 45. So I was like, all right, 10 to 15 laps, a little leeway. And I gained a bunch of time, and I led a few laps, like 10, 15 laps, and then once Parker and Ethan caught me, it was just they were gone. But I ended up leveling out my tires after they leveled my tires out with theirs probably like 10 laps later after that, and I still maintained third. But after that, I mean, that was my first run was so awful with my tire. I mean, I was down to like 10%, but my second run I was up in the 30s. So
Down to 10?
yeah, my first set of tires were awful. I just burnt them, but I still maintained third. I like I said, I had to switch it up. So I ended up switching up how I ran and backing off a little bit more, coasting and diming the corner, and I ended up saving 20% on my tire, and I was still running top three speeds. It's just Parker and Ethan were just 5 seconds ahead of me because of the pit time difference. So, but
No, back on your lap times, I couldn't even watch mine. Like, I was just such in a battle that it's like I was just so focused on where they were running and how they were. I didn't know us three checked out that far in the first run until I realized, like, wow, we're 5 seconds.
yeah, after because I put it on lap 44 going to 45, and it was just like, yeah, I can't keep up. So I was like, all right, I'm just gonna pit now. Hopefully don't get screwed by anything. And I did way better the second time on that second run, but they did a better job. They just ran it all the way dry both times, and it seemed like it was gonna be the winning move by them. I mean,
Yeah, I wanted to run it dry, but like I kept getting like, oh, your right rear is wearing down, and I'm like, I don't know what this is at. I know the first warning's like 50%, and then like the second one's like something. I'm like,
yeah,
I still had like 7 laps. I'm like, I don't know where it's at. If this right rear goes, this car is done.
yeah.
I'm like, and that was the thing. It was like, I don't want to pit early because I want to stay out because I was still maintaining gap with Ethan, and it was like, there's no reason to pit. I might as well pit with him, just run it out because I was like, this is at least a 2-stop, maybe a 3. I don't know if you stretch it out. Might be a fuel mileage. And I was like, I'm just going to run it dry. And it's just like, oh, right rear's getting low. Right rear. I'm like, it's kind of scaring me because I don't know what it's at.
Yeah, I was scared when it came on the second time. I was like, uh oh.
Yeah,
I was like, I don't know if that's 25% or if that's 10%.
I never heard that. I've never got that far in a run where it's been that low.
Yeah, it's been a very long time for me for it to get that low.
I've also noticed a lot of people were having tire issues. I mean, Jake blew a tire.
He blew it twice.
I was in there with Quims, and I noticed that he kind of like had tire issues. He didn't blow anything, but I think a lot of people were.
That's where patience and running the track matters more than trying to just.
It was just so much time I was doing that. And it was just.
Thank you.
It was. I don't know. I never experienced a Vegas race like that at all. Definitely unique to say the least.
Hey, sorry fellas, I'm gonna go ahead and jump out of here. I got some ice cream here.
All right, have a good one.
What kind? What kind?
Have a good one, fellas. Good racing.
What kind?
What kind?
Oh, it's vanilla churro.
Ooh.
I have some.
Sure.
Yeah,
All the fast lane boys will get hooked up and get some vanilla churro ice cream.
Were all of us running the JCTV sponsor, or who else was running that?
Yeah, mine's
all
on
three
the
of
rear
us were?
corner and on mine's on like the rear end on top and then like the rear deck lid on the rear bumper.
I had Noah make that scheme for me literally yesterday, and he's like, "What sponsors do you want?" I was like, "Well, you could put Millsup Graphics because Jake usually makes most of my schemes, and then I was like, throw JCTV on there, and then Noah's own graphic thing. So I had 2 graphic sponsors in the race, and then the JCTV, and he made it look good too. He blended it very well. So
It looked good. I'm not gonna lie, Donny. You and Juicy were kind of getting on my nerves, but I didn't want to give you dirty air, but the way y'all were blocking running the line.
No, I could not pass Juicy. He just.
I know, and then I got stuck behind him, and then you were sitting on my inside. I'm like, I want to get out this top, and you were just sitting on the bottom. I was like, I just want to. I know I can get to Parker, and then I'm like, I just got to get around these. I can't go nowhere.
I felt the same way. I was like, move, Juice.
Like, I felt faster than Parker, and I just could never get the lead from him. I was just stuck. Like, I could run high and just get a run, but I couldn't clear. And I was like, how do I go this?
I don't know how I stacked up against the leaders, but right there, the last couple restarts, I felt like I had a pretty good shot at the checkered.
Yeah.
But it was kind of hard to pass. Like the bottom lane is the preferred
really
line, but the
wasn't,
outside
like-
was the
It
best.
was more just run the middle and drive it down. That was kind of how I was clearing, but I just ran the middle and drove it down. I just couldn't. The problem is just I couldn't get like a big enough run. Just like I could pass y'all doing it, but when I got to Ethan and Parker, it was just impossible. Because most of the time I'll just drive it below y'all and just send it in there and hold the brake and let it just roll and just do it like a mid slide job and slide in front of y'all.
Now, let's go into JCTV Picks. Alright, now let's recap a couple weeks in JCTV Picks, starting at Atlanta Motor Speedway, where Jonathan Canfield picked first, with Eric Amarola finishing 30th after blowing a tire in the lead for the 10 car. Michael Kruger picked the 7 of Corey LaJoy and ended up winning that round with a 4th place finish, Josh.
Dawson ended up picking Noah Gregson, who brought it home 12th. And myself, I went with Bubba Wallace. He brought it home 27th.
Myself, Adam Coon picked the 17 Chris Buescher. He ended up 35th. And Cameron Caldwell picked the 24 William Byron, ending up 32nd. And then moving on to the next race at Circuit of the Americas.
Yeah, I had first pick, and I went with AJ Allmendinger. He finished 34th. Jonathan Canfield went with the defending winner of the race, Ross Chastain. He finished 4th.
I picked the 2 of Austin Cindric, where he finished in 6th position, and Cameron picked the 99 Daniel Suarez, where he finished in 27th.
Dawson Allen, he picked Tyler Reddick. Tyler Reddick, of course, won the race, so Dawson Allen got the points for that. Michael Kruger, he chose last, and he went with Christopher Bell. Christopher Bell, he finished 31st.
Next week at Richmond Raceway, Jonathan Ganfield, he picked first. He went with Kyle Busch. He ended up in the 14th position. With Cameron picking next, he chose Denny Hamlin, who brought it home in the 20th position.
Michael Kruger chose Martin Truex Jr., who finished 11th, and myself, I chose Alex Bowman, who came home in 8th.
I ended up getting my first win on the season with a 5th place finish, choosing the 4 of Kevin Harvick, and Dawson Allen was in a good position with William Byron in the 24, but a crash late ended up relegating him to the 24th position.
After that, we went to the Bristol Dirt, where Cameron Caldwell chose first with Chase Briscoe, who ended up finishing 5th. And Adam, you went with Ricky Stenhouse Jr., who brought it home in 4th.
4th place wasn't enough because Jonathan Canfield, he chose the 45 of Tyler Reddick, who finished in the 2nd position, and Michael chose the 8 of Kyle Busch. He ended up in the 32nd position after a late spin.
Yeah, I went next, and wide open was Kyle Larson, who ended up finishing 35th. Unfortunately, and then Dawson Allen, he chose Daniel Suarez, who finished 25th.
Most recently at Martinsville Speedway, Michael chose first with William Byron. He only mustered a 23rd place finish, but Cameron chose Denny Hamlin, who was able to finish in the top 5 with the 4th.
Dawson Allen chose Christopher Bell, coming off of a race win from Bristol Dirt. Bell finished 16th, and Adam, you chose Martin Truex Jr., who finished 3rd.
Jonathan Canfield chose the 8 of Kyle Busch yet again, who finished in the 21st position. And right behind him was the 45 of Tyler Reddick in 22nd, which was chosen by you, Josh.
Well, that's been our picks from the last 5 races. Talladega coming up. It's going to be really hard to choose drivers for that one.